coffee?
Coffee.
Let me stir this up. I've fucking been putting these like MCT powder and collagen powder. It's like a 2-in-1 thing. And it's just like chalky. Gotta like squish with bits. Gotta squish with bits.
That sounds painful. That sounds painful.
Squishy bits can hurt when they're squished. But there's some squishy things that don't hurt when they're squished, unless it's like really hard. Anyways.
Oh my god. Hello everyone.
Delicious.
Coffee.
Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today I'm here with Tyler Greiner, my roommate.
Hello.
Tyler is a psychologist.
Psychology degree. Yeah.
You have a degree in psychology.
Yeah.
So what did you learn in this degree? What is it? What is psychology?
Psychology is the behavior of people. So basically in our psychology degree we learn parts of the brain, what each region is responsible for, and then we learn some more scientific things, neurobiology, pathways, chemicals, and then we learn things like social psychology and a few other areas of psychology. And then I also minored in sociology, where I learned about society, culture, and other things.
Cool. Yeah.
School.
So, like the pathways.
Yeah.
I love talking about pathways because it's kind of this thing that you can say, apply different meanings to, but you were talking about like chemical pathways in the brain. So
yeah.
I was reading this article about depression and how you can kind of get over it by, well, like I don't want to say like get over it, but like help deal with it by reinforcing the positive pathways. And so that's like little things like rewarding yourself for things like, okay, I got through the day, I did this homework that was stressing me out, now I can take some time for myself and enjoy like a coffee, you know, and
coffee,
some of your favorite music. Put your music on, turn off the lights, fucking drown out the world, don't worry about it, like go to your happy place, you know, doing things like that. There's other things in the article too. So like, how does like psychology linked with things like depression or like other things like that, mental problems?
So there's a lot of factors for depression. A big thing could be psychology. You hear all the time, nature and nurture. They both can work together. So things like your genetics. You can be more prone to depression if there's been family history of it, right? And then your environment too, just could be like how you were raised, like your nutrition, and there's like when you're younger, there's like a certain development period, and there's like certain markers that you have to meet while you're younger, otherwise you could be lacking per se some things, and it's just depression too is also a big thing about psychology is how you perceive things. You have to be mindful of that. Not everyone's gonna see the same thing as you, right? And one person might have this event happen, and they might meet it, and they might solve any problems that come their way, and they might feel good with where they're at. And another person, like, they could have an event happen and it just totally rocks them off, and they get off their course and they don't know how to deal with it, and then they use like negative coping mechanisms, and that could certainly be factors, I guess.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to kind of like treat it, and I remember you saying something about like nutrition being a thing.
Nutrition.
The second most neurons in your body are in your stomach. It's like your brain, then your stomach, and there's such a connection there, like constantly through life. Like one of your most basic needs is food and water. You know, is that pathway. So creating a healthy gut, eating well, that's going to make a big difference.
Definitely. And then definitely eating healthy and exercising.
It's positive pathways
you hear
exercise.
Yeah, like you hear it a lot.
Chemicals get released.
Yeah, all the chemicals.
It hurts, right? Sometimes when you're exercising, it hurts. There's the endorphins, but then there's also dopamine being released. There's all these different hormones happening that some people don't get to like experience.
Yeah.
And it's very vital to the human experience to do that. If you stop doing that, you kind of step down a different evolutionary branch that your body is not really prepared for.
Yeah.
And there's this difference between your perception of what you need to do and what your body is like, what it can do. You know?
No, definitely.
So like treatments for depression, there's like the clinical treatments, which I hear the big drawback is that they take a long time. There's like weeks that before you notice any difference, whereas something like, I've heard ketamine being used as kind of this treatment, or mushrooms, and there's obviously a lot of dangers with something like ketamine, but the reason that it's become popular is that it directly targets opioid receptors in your brain, so it's like really fast that you feel it, and when you have that kind of experience, sometimes you just need something to happen that fast. Like our time scale as people, we're used to things, especially in the modern times, we're used to things that are instant. So fast. So if you're like, my life sucks, well, okay, well, I'm the thing of like, okay, well, I'm having these depression problems, and you want something to change fast because maybe you've been dealing with it for a long time and you need something.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, alternative treatments are dangerous. Like sometimes they're more effective. So that's what makes them so addictive. It's a dangerous hill to climb down. But doing the research helps a lot, and just seeing a professional and actually trying the thing first. I think that in the States, a lot of doctors ended up prescribing ketamine to their patients, like kind of under the table, only because the actual antidepressants that they were prescribing them weren't really working. Traditional things weren't affecting them, so they kind of did that to help prevent suicide. So it's like extreme cases of that being happening, you know?
Yeah. Just my thoughts on that are, yes, you might, like, a depressed individual may want results just like that, but realistically, just in my perspective, for a healthy recovery and just to not try and, like, just to manage your depression, it will take time, because essentially for depression, you have to change your outlook on life, and you have to change basically how you think about things, which, I mean, isn't going to change overnight, right?
Unless you take drugs.
You can.
There's research right now. There's actually the Johns Hopkins University just released or opened an entire research center devoted to studying psychedelic mushrooms, psilocybin. There's been a lot of this kind of like mystic association with magic mushrooms and how they kind of make you see this greater consciousness and all the reality and truth of life and what it is, and kind of helping people accept that they're going to die one day, mortality, and finding a real peace in the life that they have through that, and accepting the past, seeing where they went wrong, accepting the failures, and seeing the lessons within those. It's like this book I'm reading, there's a metaphorical, it's called Can't Hurt Me, it's David Goggins' book, it's awesome. And he's got this metaphorical cookie jar. And he's like, through all these struggles, these are the things, these are the chocolate chips that you know, really motivate me and keep me moving in times of challenge.
Yeah.
So it's like, even when it was really hard, you got that resiliency, you know, you got that mettle to really push through life. That's one example, you know, of going through the past and saying, what was my successes, what were my failures, and just owning who you are, not running from it, learning from the past. You know, that's at the our original intro in the Voodoo Monkeys had a quote from Rafiki in The Lion King.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, yes, the past can't hurt, but you can either run from it, you know, hit them with this stick.
Oh yeah.
You either run from it, or you can learn from it.
Yeah.
Dodges it. You see? So what are you going to do?
I love that movie.
And then it's like, get fit like monkey, right? Like you're saying, exercise and stuff. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, no, I just think, I also think you just have to, it's just important to remember that there isn't necessarily one thing to help depression. sometimes you might need to do like 5 or 6 little things, you know? It's not just be like, oh, I'm going to take these psychedelic drugs and I'm going to be cured, right?
You can't put all your hope
like,
in
no,
something.
like, you got to do little things. Like, first, like, you have to, if you have social support,
there's actually more.
If you don't feel like you have social support, there's you have to first and foremost you have to be open with your friends and family that are available and your social connections, and you have to tell them of your feelings, and it can really help just getting that off your chest. Like, hey, I'm really sad. I don't look forward to waking up every morning. Like, I feel first and foremost you should like get that off your chest. And then, yeah, it can be important to do research. So, like, yeah, you can go see a psychologist. You can eat healthy. You can do exercise. You could get into yoga. You can do music. Find a hobby that you really love and are passionate about, right?
Yeah.
Try and, like, give yourself, like, another meaning that really inspires you to use all your creativity and just go for it, right? Like,
And it can help you apply those lessons that you've learned, too.
Yeah.
Like through music, like Greg's SoundCloud, a lot of his music is based on his story in life and what he's learned through living the life that he has, even though there's a lot of hardship through it.
Yeah.
You know, there was those cookie jar things.
Yeah. But yeah, just being open and communicating. I know it can be tough, but if you can do it, it can really help them.
Yeah, and I've been really doing that lately. For a long time, like I did some mushrooms, I did some LSD, and that was years ago. And the best thing you can do after something like that is going through and being like, hey, who am I? What did I learn? What is this? And I've been doing that. I've been looking through my lessons and looking at my past failures, like dropping out of school and stuff, why I wasn't wanting to go. Just knowing that I wasn't ready for it. You know, I wanted to do other things in life. I wasn't willing to sacrifice the things that I needed to do that. So, I mean, why would I even go to do that in the first place if I wasn't willing to do that? I just didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
You know, and I had to make that failure to learn that. So now I have a much clearer path. I'm not less worried about what I'm doing in life. I'm not creating these pressures and anxieties of having to do that thing, you know. And I'm finding great acceptance through things, and I want to go through and like forgive myself for making the mistakes. Right? That's a big step, and forgiving others for if they've done wrong by me too. And then just like there's one person in particular I'm going to send a message to after this, I think. But aside from that, there's this something like this is kind of connected too. Something like entertainment sources. So like we were talking about sports earlier, and how that creates a community around sports, and you can kind of like celebrate in the successes and failures of a team too, and that how that can enrich your life. And there's so much history with sports, and like every player, like if there's like a big team sport, like your two big sports are football and hockey, right?
Football and hockey are my main two, yeah.
So why don't you just like?
Do you just want me to go on a rant about sports in general, I guess?
If you want to, I was thinking, just like just watching it, like how does watching sports help your life out? Like how does being a sports fan, make your life better and kind of with that community and stuff?
Well, I think it all started from a young age because I got into sports fairly young. Yeah, like I started playing hockey when I was 5 years old. Right, you learn how to skate, and So I played for like 13 years. Like I played for a really long time, and that's part of who I am. And it's just a thing where it's like anything. It's like that's a part of who I am. That's a part of my culture, and it's a part of me being a part of like bigger collective.
So like what kind of culture is like how does that influence your culture and like the choices you make when you're like I'm a hockey player, I'm a hockey fan, and how does that even like our kind of like national identity, I guess, like we're like a hockey country, right?
Yeah.
Bud. Fucking.
Like on a surface level, it's like, okay, I will play hockey. Okay, I will watch hockey. I will cheer loudly. I will Yeah, basically on the surface level, it's like just partaking in the events, but on a deeper level, it's again, it's realizing there's this rich history of people with me now, but people before me who have also really enjoyed the sports. Like my team, my football team, has only won one Super Bowl in like 80, 90 years or something. Like, there's like there are people who are like 60 or 70 who've been watching all their life, and there's only been like one Super Bowl. So they put in all this. Like, some people are really diehard fans. They spend lots of money, go to all the games. It's literally what they eat, breathe, and sleep about is like football. Like, my family is from Saskatchewan. They're big Rider fans. So like, Rider fans are crazy. I'm one of them. I'm one of them.
We got a right there. You got a couple.
And look, I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, I got artwork of like sports. So I'm really into sports. And
there's a lot of stories in sports, and really a lot of inspiration. Like, the coach has got to hype up the team first before they start playing, and then like every player has a unique story of how they came into sports, how they got into the major leagues and stuff like that. Everybody has a reason to get into it. Like, I started watching hockey because of my dad watching hockey. It's usually something that's very close to home of watching sports, and it's something that you can get into that's better than watching something that's like gonna melt your brain, because you can actually learn about these games, these legendary things, the rules, what plays they do, strategies. Like, there's a lot to it. Sports is really interesting.
It can be complicated too, like just knowing everything. But even if you don't watch, even if like you like playing sports, it's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go to school for the day. What are we going to do after school? We're going to go grab a stick and go to the pond. Like. Some people, like, even that. Like,
it keeps the community. And there's a lot of energy there, And it's just good, simple fun. I fucking love sports. Mm-hmm. I didn't play them that much, but I still love keeping active, and it comes into that activity. It's not just like lifting weights. Like, I can lift weights alone and kind of have sort of a good, definitely it's a good experience, right? But playing it with others, there's winning, there's losing, there's good plays, you're winning just by playing it, and just being there.
Yeah, and just for me it's different.
Sportsmanship, that's a big thing.
Like, you can play a sport, or you can watch a sport, or you can be really passionate about it and it just clicks with you. That's kind of where I am. Like, it just clicks, and I am pretty passionate about sports. So
nice.
I should do more sports, but lately, yeah.
I find it's easier to like really get into a sport when you've played it, because then you kind of know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And then it's easier to because if you know what they're doing and you know what you're doing, you know the players really well, you know that the team has certain ways of like playing, you can almost predict things, right? You're like, it's like second sight. Oh yeah. You're like, okay, well, this is all kind of known, like, all right, I think it's going to be like this, and then that's when things like betting happen, So, what's your stance on gambling?
I gamble a little bit, like, not a lot, but I do.
Well, it's like the pools, right? Where you pick who's going to make what plays, or like, who's going to get touchdowns and stuff.
Yeah.
And then if you're right, you like advance, and then if you get the right, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of fun stuff to do with it. Winning, losing, be responsible.
Know your limit.
Yeah. But humans are meant to do stuff like that. That's a very human thing. Other things like forcing yourself to function just to go to work, just to pay your bills, just to survive. I mean, that sucks, but it's like necessary, right? It's not really what you want to do, but it's what you have to do.
Yeah.
And goes back to the psychological things we were talking about, how sometimes people just bury things inside and focus on what they have to do that go into survival.
Yeah, and I feel like
they end up not dealing with all these things.
No, and sometimes if you're really comfortable, you just get in a rut sometimes, and sometimes you can just be like doing shit to do it, and then it's like, like, and
you start feeling like a robot.
Basically, you're doing the same things. You're like, you need a little bit of flair, for sure. Whatever your flair might be, you need. You need things to keep it not.
We need 10 pieces of flair. We gotta see your flair.
Oh my goodness. That's
you gotta be yourself. And if you're living a life where you're not being yourself,
what
it's
movie
gonna feel
is
wrong.
What movie is that? That's that Office movie.
Office Space?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good movie.
That's my stapler. Can I have my stapler back? I will bring this place to the ground. Please, can I have my stapler?
We also watched Bernie's Weekend. That's it.
Bernie's Weekend?
Yeah.
What's that? I don't even know that.
Or Weekend at Bernie's.
A Weekend at Bernie's.
It's like the boss gets murdered, but then like the boss gets murdered and then like his employees.
Like they're all at a party at his house?
So it's like the boss and like 2 employees and they go to his house and the boss is gonna kill the employees, but someone murders the boss instead. So then the employees like pretend he's alive. And like,
Sounds
it's kind of
weird, man. Sounds a little fucked up.
It's a little whack.
Yeah. I'm gonna watch that. Weekend at Bernie's.
Weekend at Bernie's.
That's interesting. I remember watching this one movie where it's like everybody won a prize and they all show up at the house, and then it's like actually like a mystery, like somebody actually gets murdered and then they have to like solve it and try to figure out who the murderer is. That's pretty cool. We had a murder mystery party.
Yep.
You hosted that.
Yep.
You got actually a couple other ones.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. It's like live action role playing, which is really cool. You know, it allows you to kind of do something a little different. It's kind of those flair moments, right? You get to act. You get to do things that are low, like no risk, right? But you can maybe let out a little bit of your freaky side a little bit that you wouldn't normally get to in a regular scenario. At least I did.
No, it's they're really fun and they're really fun and it's good to do those events with friends. I feel like
another thing to find community.
Yeah.
In a way, but it's like weird because you're not being yourself. You're like acting as somebody else. But as a sports fan, you're kind of like being yourself, but you're like in the team. So it's like living through the team.
Yeah.
Kind of weird. Well, I remember earlier we were talking about how you were saying no thought is your own, and that you
from well, that's from a more sociological perspective.
Yeah.
Where like
because I was
you can't have your own thoughts, but most of them are influenced by something or other, right?
Yeah, it's a combination of things.
Like,
I was like
media.
If you couldn't have your own thoughts, genius wouldn't exist.
Like you can
revelations, they would never exist. It's a mixture of things. So like
from your family, from your friends, media, you know, all the you have all these inputs
from life.
Yeah.
So like you're born into life, you get created. Maybe like I have a memory. I swear to fuck, I remember being in my mother's womb and just having that sense of like existing and feeling, you know, like gravity and stuff. And I knew I existed, but I didn't have any kind of input other than just like feeling. And then like childhood memories and stuff. Like if there's an input before there's an output. You have to kind of gather these inputs and then make an output. It reminds me of a story of Helen Keller. Really famous person who was basically like almost like a vegetable that had very little senses and found one way to communicate, right? And she used that to like basically come up with this savant like writing, and it blew people away because there was so much against her, but like she had that one connection to the rest of the life, and that one input caused all the rest of the outputs that she did. And so it's like what you perceive and what you do with it is something you said earlier. It's two things: what you perceive and what you do with it. So that's a story of like it's all just that one perception that there is something else, and then look what she did with it, you know. And then there's the other story of David Goggin. We talked about his book earlier. Fucking such a game-changing book, life-changing book, honestly. And his life was very traumatic and full of hardships. Kind of reminds me of Greg. And so there's a lot of perception of a lot of pain, you know, but he didn't let that pain bring him down. He's like, he focused on what he could do with it.
Yeah.
And he did great things, and he is doing great things. Same with Greg. It's fucking awesome. You know, being human is a great thing. And some people get caught up in kind of losing themselves to something else.
Yeah.
And I hope that
live and learn.
I hope that people can see that about themselves and then find that path back to who they really are.
Yeah.
pretty good shit. Pretty good stuff on the Voodoo Monkeys podcast.
Can we talk about movies? Do we have time to talk about movies?
Yeah, we got lots of time. I don't even know how long we've been going, but I know it's not even an hour yet. This is probably like 30 minutes or something.
Because I would like to talk about movies if we have time.
I can't even tell. I don't know. Let's keep going, yeah.
Okay. I just really want to talk about movies because that's like another passion of mine.
Okay.
It's easier for me to talk about passions, I guess. Really into it.
Well, it's what's familiar, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, movies. I like movies because there's archetypes and kind of like things that get used in different like roles that characters have. So it's kind of like and journey based too. And there's so many different kinds of movies. Some of them make you think, some of them make you laugh, cry. Like there's comedies, there's dramas, there's action movies that are just fucking you're just really into. You know, something that you know is going to be a good story.
Yeah.
What do you love about movies?
So, I guess to start off with, it's almost like any other, like you can compare this to like any other thing, I guess. Whether it's making an automobile, whether it's making music. First and foremost, I just love how you take nothing and then make it into something really, like, crazy.
How do you take nothing and make it into something?
Well, like, from your ideas.
Yeah, you take some basic things.
Yeah, but you start out with nothing and you use your ideas to make. Like, yeah. Basically, movies, I just love looking back at, like, older movies and kind of, like, trying to figure out. So, like, this movie was made in, like, 1930s or whatever. Trying to look at like what they did in the film and also looking at like, oh, what are these people doing in the film, and kind of like looking at like clothing style, music, kind of all these different things, and kind of being like, oh cool, we can visually see and hear, we can also hear how like their culture was back in the day and like what practices they did. It takes you back in time. That's one of the things I like about movies, right?
How to time travel. Watch an old movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of contextual cues.
You know, and then you might be watching a movie and you're like, oh, why did they do this? This is strange. And then oh, that was part of their culture. That's what was.
It's interesting what they used to tell the story. You know, whereas a lot of old movies were very conversations told the story.
Yeah.
Newer movies, it's almost
action, like
action tells the story.
Oh, definitely. Like you look at movies today, like every scene is just like bam, 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 bam.
Like fucking, I can't even watch Transformers because I can't tell. It's like, okay, there's robots fighting. Wow, yeah, oh my god, which robots who again? Like I can't tell.
Definitely
the old cartoon, fucking totally tell. I love the old cartoon Transformers. New Transformers, what the fuck's happening? I don't even get it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I love the Dinobots though. They're really cool.
Feels like there's less attention span for sure nowadays. But I don't know. And like some older movies are way better than new movies. Like, come on.
Yeah, like The Good and Bad and the Ugly. That's like such a legendary movie. I actually watched it. It was a long time. I just knew about it, right?
Yeah.
And then I actually went and watched it. I was like, holy shit! Like that scene is actually really intense.
It's like and these movies. These movies happened like what 40, 50 years ago. Like some of them are like 40, 50 years old, and you're like, holy shit! Like. Some of these movies don't even compare.
Ahead of their time.
Yeah.
The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah.
Holy shit, I couldn't believe that. There's like UFO landed, fucking spaceman comes out, shoots a laser beam on his head, and all the guns and tanks disappear.
Yeah.
They did that in like the 40s or 50s.
Yeah.
Blew my mind.
Yeah.
I think it was The Day the Earth Stood Still is what it's called. That was a really good one. Old sci-fi movie.
Well, and I like the older Star Wars than the new ones, like the originals.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. How they make the movies.
Like Puppet Yoda, come on.
Puppet Yoda.
Way better.
I love the wisdom of Yoda. Like everybody knows, do or do not, there is no try, right?
Yeah.
That's such a famous quote, and I imply that. I apply that to my life all the time. I'm either gonna do it or I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not gonna be like, So it's like it's way less half-assing stuff, and it's more like it's giving it a go. It's attempting things.
Yeah.
You can still, but it's like with a full intention to complete it every time. you know, so it like helps you to not give up. It's more inspiring too. And the way he's talking about the force reminds me of spiritual energy, God energy. You know, this kind of
like the one where it's like the force is all around you,
like frequency.
Yeah.
That you can attune to.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
And it's definitely linked with brainwaves too. I mean, you've got your very focused alpha wave state, you've got your really like ultra learning beta wave state, and then there's the really meditative, reflective theta wave state. And like shifting between these things with some sort of focus, like music, like making music. I mean, some brainwave states is better for listening, some's better for practicing, some's better for writing. Right? But if it's all in the same kind of intention, you can channel that energy, that consciousness of your life through the filter of your life, I guess. Yeah. The energy is kind of this almost like the most basic building blocks. Like it's like string theory. Fuck me. Fucking string theory. It's like string theory. Everything has a frequency of vibration, right? Yeah. It's like the basic particles, but they're just strings. You know. So maybe those strings, the universe vibrating with itself is just living life. You know, it's existing. Yeah. Like I'm here having a conversation with you. I'm a part of the universe. I'm kind of like vibing with this conversation. You're part of the universe. You're vibing with this conversation. We're making this constructive wave. Yeah. It's building this. You know, like fucking life is awesome.
I really enjoy music for like just the effect it can have over you. I know you love music. That's your passion. You're really big into it. Yeah. I personally,
I love playing.
I love music for two reasons. One, it can totally maybe more than two reasons. I gotta think about this, but I love how like you're in one mood and then you hear a song and it just changes your mood completely. That's like holy shit. Or like there's songs where you just listen to the lyrics and it's like holy shit, like that brings you back to like a point in your life where you kind of went through sort of similar things.
Yeah.
Or the other thing was if you hear like a song and then you just think back to when you first heard that song or like you know, like those are three things I guess. Those are three things I really love about music.
Yeah.
Just all emotion based, just you know.
I love it. The first one I found was Summer of '69. Like that was the very first song that I ever played in a band with somebody, with Michael. And we like every time I hear that, I just think about that summer of 2009.
Yeah.
You know, maybe those were the best days of our lives.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. But like, and the other ones too, like Rock You Like a Hurricane, that made me fall in love with rock music, because like my sister listened to freaking Backstreet Boys and Aqua all the time, and I was like, okay, whatever. So I kind of liked it. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of fun. But at the same time, Rock You Like a Hurricane blew me away. I remember listening to that on the road trip in the van. Holy shit, fucking loved it. Cherry Pie, another good one. And then the first time I heard Eruption, that's what made me a guitar player. I knew from that moment on. I was like, this is the ultimate sound. I thought it was a freaking aliens playing a space organ. It was like, it took my dad to convince me it's actually a guitar. Holy shit. Yeah, that became an early goal to play that, the whole thing. Not just the taboo section. I always wanted to play the whole thing, and I learned it in 2 years.
Nice.
It was fucking challenging, but I did it. And then I never learned anything new. For the next like 10 years. That was all I knew. That's still all I know. There's nothing more. Well, there is now though, but like, fuck. Guitar's gone crazy. But I find that it's back to that like time traveling thing. I find that like music does that for me more.
Yeah.
I mean, there's sometimes I'll go walking around and I'll put on a playlist of the music from Fallout, and it's like easy to imagine that it's 50s, you know, that Mr. Salmon, catch me in a dream. Just imagine that all the cars are old and like, you know, I fucking love it. It's a place in a time.
Yeah. And
sometimes, like when I get high and I listen to music, I can really, it's almost like being in the studio as like a ghost while they're recording it, but it's like they're not even there anymore. You know, like it's something that's happened in the past, it's already happened, but you can go into that recording. You can kind of like listen around. And I don't know, if you have a really good imagination, you can imagine them doing it. And if you know where they did it, and what instruments they used, like all the different things that are connected to it, the story of how they wrote the song, and the lyrics in the song, it's really beautiful and diverse too. Yeah, it's great.
Music.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about writing tunes and how that's. Well, I was kind of talking about how it's like channeling that consciousness through your experience in life. So like achieving a goal, like something like that, and how that is a great thing. Of like learning guitar.
Yeah.
You know, I remember I thought I could pick up a guitar and I'd be able to play like Slash because I was playing guitar here. You know, I was like, yeah, I'll just plug it in and it'll fucking sound great and it's easy. It doesn't work like that. Everybody who sat down to learn it, they're like, what? My fingers have to do what?
Yeah.
Holy.
It's hard.
But it's do or do not. There is no try. You're either going to do it or you're not.
Yeah.
And you got to this is practice time. And you sit down and you just do one chord for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do. Do it. Do 2 chords.
Yeah.
Play little notes. Play little Peter Gut. You know, and just slowly build it up. It comes into things like faith too. You gotta have faith that you're gonna make it through, and then the willpower to just sustain yourself.
Yeah, things worth doing are worth doing right. You gotta work at it.
You gotta, yeah. It takes time. Don't poop the bed.
I mean, sometimes you can't do things, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously sometimes
it's like, well, I can't.
You gotta say, okay, well, I'm just gonna not.
Like me with calculus.
Yeah.
Like, I know I can't do calculus. It doesn't matter if I try as hard as I can. I probably can't do it.
Yeah. That's like me in essay writing. I hate having to follow a structure like that. You know, and so I would never do it.
We're definitely different sides of the brain.
Yeah. Definitely. Even calculus is kind of creative too. I mean, you've got to like remember what equations it is, and like change the form of the equation. You got to get creative with it. People think math is so analytical, but it's actually creative. And once you get to a certain point, you know, it's kind of weird. It's really cool though.
It goes right over my head.
The weird part is, yeah, I won't even get into it. I was going to talk about imaginary numbers. Because they're like, all electronics, they work because we use imaginary numbers in math.
Well, I'm glad.
Weird. Imaginary shit.
I'm glad some
like,
people.
Oh, it's magic. It's not magic, it's circuitry. It's
I'm grateful some people.
Solving the circuitry, that's kind of magic. How do you solve the circuitry? That's the magic part. Magic happens up here in humans' brains.
That amazes me.
So it is amazing. It's really awesome. How many geniuses did it take for us to get here? You know, that like you look back on the past, you look back to like all the way to Egypt, and it's weird because they had a lot of shit figured out. They knew how to measure the stars and align to a frightening accurate degree. Let alone how they moved all that stuff. Their understanding of their orientation in the world, in the universe, well, I guess was freaking beyond my knowledge of how they freaking did it.
Trial and error, I don't know.
I don't think it was, well, eventually they found something that was so accurate that they just used it all the time.
Yeah.
I guess that's the basic way to do it at the beginning, you know? It's like a constant science.
Yeah. Okay,
well, we think this might be this, so let's, okay, it did, okay, it didn't, you know, and just keep track of it, moving on.
Yeah.
And, yeah, writing, how that's helped us.
Crazy.
But it all come back from, like, some kind of demand for something else.
Yeah.
You know, eventually we found ways to make it easier for ourselves, and we found a place where we could, you know, maybe like a kid asking their chief or whatever, like, where did this come from? You know, and they're actually being timed to like kind of come up with something.
Yeah.
And try to figure it out and say, well, it's created by something, right? Not knowing what it is, maybe, but it's something to do with a greater thing.
That's a lot of craziness, which, you know, sometimes we may not even think about really, but
crazy genius, wild genius. And I was thinking about this goes back to my like getting in touch with my like feelings and stuff like that, and having like you have emotions. You have some kind of emotion through life, and you can either have it as a mindless emotion or you can have mindful emotion. But like the best part of emotion is when it's kind of wild, you know. But you don't want to be wildly mindless. That's animalistic, right? That's a bad idea, right? But you can be wildly mindful, and that's a lot better, right?
Oh,
that's a little bit more civilized and stuff. Not like I've gone crazy fucking being an animal. I'm just like I've thought about it to this level. I do that on kettlebells. I do that alone. That's like my own private like fucking ritual kind of thing. And then I never do that with people. Just myself, my person. You know, I don't really, unless it's like well even then, like a fight, like you want to be at that base, you know, you want to be in that form that keeps you structured. Like a lot of people don't go that way, and when they get in a fight, it becomes animalistic, right?
Yeah.
But like more professional fighting and stuff like that, you gotta stay. It's like the gentleman boxer, you know?
Yeah, you gotta be aware. You can't just go and swing, and you gotta be strategic. And
keep the mindfulness.
Yeah.
But it's weird, it's like where you place mindfulness in life, there's always gonna be some sort of mindlessness somewhere else.
Yeah. Like
all blessings come with curses. There's a yin and a yang. It's always this two sides, balance thing. Dual nature, two-way street of life.
Yeah.
I was reading about, watching a YouTube video of Bob Proctor talking about how there's a two-way street in the mind of consciousness. And everything you're putting out in the world, you're also kind of getting back something too. And through having a conversation or like writing something that you already know, reviewing your knowledge, it really deepens those pathways you were talking about. It deepens those pathways. It makes it easier to recall the information. Allows more information to get connected to it, and it really just like unifies the idea. You know, you see new facets of it. So yeah, I love life. What do you think of the current state of comedy and how like we used to be like so racist and
it's kind of like this
things like
comedy is kind of like this podcast. Comedy is kind of like this podcast that I'm doing right now. No.
I mean it is funny.
No, literally it's
like we're sitting here talking about
literally I have to be also careful.
Is, you know, it's like
I have to be careful of everything I say because it could come back and bite me. You know what I mean? Like,
well, because of your profession, right?
My profession.
You've got to fit into a certain kind of role, you know. And if somebody tries to blackmail you or something, or is seeing you like, I remember Michael. He's a substitute teacher, right? And we had this video on YouTube that had like 10,000 hits or something, and then one of his students recognized him.
Yeah.
And he's like, he couldn't focus in class because he was like, showing everybody this video. Because he's like, my substitute teacher's a YouTube.
Or, you know, like they go, somebody blackmails your boss, or blackmails you, but they go to your boss and they're like
James Gunn got fired.
Well, yeah, like he had tweets from over 10 years ago, they were brought up and then boom.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be careful what you say. It's kind of, I don't know, comedy is kind of becoming hard to do because I feel like you can always offend someone.
Yeah.
I feel like you're always, like, comedy...
It's constantly proven that no matter what you do, somebody's getting offended. So
So, like, are we
trying to stop?
Are we going to lose?
Keep going anyway.
Are we going to lose our comedy, or...
But the problem is that some people, when they hear a certain kind of joke...
Yeah.
It affects them so deeply, like their identity, that they get mental problems from it. So like that's the thing about it. I think that is like trying to be fought against.
See, the thing is,
and I get that. Like it makes a difference to people. What difference is it making?
Like the shitty part is, you know what I think is gonna have to be done basically is they're basically gonna have disclaimers saying this may offend.
Yeah.
Like they're basically gonna have they're basically going to have disclaimers, and then they're going to have to be like, watch at your own risk.
It'd be more curated comedy, you know, curated comedy. I think that would be a great way forward through comedy. Then I would allow you to make jokes like that, because some people that are like
you
of a different culture,
yeah,
you know, are totally into like having those kind of jokes, and will even tell them kind of like this like self-deprecating jokes because they're funny. And they realize that, and they're not going to get offended because they know that they're not being personally attacked. It's just like, oh yeah, there's people like that.
Yeah,
it's simple as that. But some people, you know, they're really trying to get past these kind of like obstacles that are more stereotyping obstacles. You know, like even like women in the workplace not making as much, or people getting certain jobs because of their color, or things like that, you know, like the inequalities. But
again, it also just comes down to what I said before. It's all how you perceive things, right?
Yeah.
Some people, like, if there's a joke about them, they might just laugh it off because that's how they cope with it too, right? Like, oh, haha, that's funny, whatever. But some people
inside they're doing that because they're like, yeah, you're right, I am a fucking piece of shit, ha ha ha. You know, but that's like terrible. That's terrible, you know, and they're encouraging that themselves, but they're saying that's alright.
No, like, they basically have to have, like, disclaimers and probably, like, documents which say, if you are offended, if you are offended, you can't do anything about it. So, like, then it's kind of like, okay, well, am I going to go to the show if I'm going to get offended? Like, that's basically what, like, the shows are going to have to be now, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to, like...
No, it is dumb. Like, people go to shows just to get that negative experience so that they have something to say that people will listen to. It's kind of weird. I don't get that.
But, I mean...
People go to concerts just to boo.
I mean, literally...
Let them be.
I mean, literally, you can probably be offended by anything. You listen to a song or you watch a movie, you can be offended by that too, right?
Yeah.
Or, like, anything. So, I mean, it's kind of a tough situation, for sure. I don't know.
But I think that curated comedy thing, like having like a warning, this is the subjects of this comedy.
Yeah.
We're going on, you know, after whatever. I was gonna like take from Joe Rogan and be like vegans and Kim Kardashian, but yeah, I mean, there's some funny shit out there that you can still make people kind of like hear things that maybe they've only thought before. I think that's kind of the thing about comedy is saying things that other people are afraid to say, or don't know how to say, don't really know how to put it. But like, usually it's something that we all agree on, and that's why we all laugh. It's like, oh yeah, that's fucking funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, unless pretty much, even, well, like, unless you just like roast yourself like your whole set, like, oh man, I just like, I don't know. Just
I'm so dumb. I broke my phone screen and I was trying to show my friends, so I sent him a screenshot.
Yeah, just like roast yourself the entire set, I guess. I don't know.
I think a lot of comedians have started to do that because it's like, nobody's going to get offended except for me, and I'm not going to get offended, so
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's done.
I guess that's one way to...
It kind of turns him into like a sitcom character.
Yeah.
So it's a little different.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I look back at some, like, George Carlin is like my favorite comedian. He's so great. Like, Eddie Murphy's Delirious, like another really good one.
Yeah.
You know, common things in comedy, people go for their marriages, their kids, you know, their childhood life.
Yeah, and again,
jobs they've had, you know, things like that.
That's just how our culture has evolved, right? Like...
And those things are universal. Those things are universal, I think, you know, for most people. Some people had no parents, though. I mean, some people had no other family. Like, I don't know. Everybody's different. It's the world. There's so many humans. But at the same time, every human, like, have this belief that that we all have the same consciousness. It's just put into our kind of experience, ourself, our human, you know? And the human is who you are, right? That's entirely your identity. Like, I'm the human Taylor, you're the human Tyler. But we each have this connection to consciousness that really allows us to make choices in life. And that's like the most human thing, is to make a choice.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
There are many factors that go into choices, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I want to come up with like a title for this episode. We're talking about pathways, like sports,
movies, culture.
We're talking about a lot of different things. It's like we're talking about input and output. Fucking some kind of machine. It's like, I don't know.
We're all over the map.
All over the map. The map of.
You could call it TNT.
The map of mind boners.
A map of mind.
Is that okay? Can I put that as the title?
Oh my goodness. Maybe.
Map of mind boners. Episode 12 or 11 or something.